The sun was hot. The ground was dusty. The market was full of voices, people selling, shouting, laughing. Evelyn walked slowly, her nurse uniform slightly faded from long shifts. Her bag felt heavy on her shoulder. She just wanted to get home and rest. Then she heard it. Laughter, not the good kind. Sharp, loud, cruel. She turned and saw a group of people standing in a circle. Something wasn't right. She walked closer. In the middle was a young man. His clothes were old. His hands shook slightly as he held a white cane. Dark glasses covered his eyes. He was trying to move but kept bumping into things. A box of tomatoes, a wooden stool. A man shouted at him, "Watch where you're going!" Someone else threw a piece of bread. It hit the man's arm. "Please," he said softly. "I'm just trying to find my way." The crowd laughed. Evelyn's heart ached. "Stop it!" she shouted. "Can't you see he's blind? What's wrong with you all?" The crowd mumbled and slowly walked away. She stepped toward the man. "Are you okay?" He nodded. "Yes, thank you. I didn't mean to cause trouble." His voice was gentle, calm, not angry, not scared, just tired. "What's your name?" she asked. "Andrew." "I'm Evelyn. You look hungry. Have you eaten?" He smiled a little. "No, but I'm all right." "No, you're not." "Where do you live?" she said firmly. "Let me take you home, so you can eat and rest." He took a small step back. "No, please, I can't. You don't need to worry about me." "I insist," she added. He hesitated. "If you can just point me to the nearest corner, I'll be fine." "A corner?" she asked. "Yes. Just somewhere I can sit and pray. I don't have a house." She blinked. "No house? Where do you sleep?" "Anywhere I can. Sometimes behind shops, sometimes near the church." "It's not so bad." Evelyn's throat felt tight. She took a deep breath. "Listen, Andrew. You're coming with me. Just for tonight. You can shower, eat, and rest." He shook his head. "You don't have to do this." "I know," she said gently. "But I want to. You don't look so well." He was quiet for a moment. Then he whispered, "Thank you. May God bless you." She stepped beside him and took his hand gently. "Come on," she said. "Let's get you home." About an hour later, Evelyn guided Andrew up the stairs of her apartment, a place she shared with her younger sister Chloe. The building was quiet, with soft paint and clean tiles. They reached the 3rd floor. She opened the door gently. "Here we are," she said. "Home." Andrew stepped in slowly. He could feel the warmth of the place, the soft rug under his feet, the smell of lavender, the quiet. "It smells peaceful," he said. Evelyn smiled. "Make yourself comfortable. I'll get you some food." She helped him sit on the couch and went into the kitchen. As she heated leftover rice and stew, she glanced at the clock. Chloe will be home soon, she thought. Let me explain everything before she explodes. But Chloe came in too early. The front door swung open. Heels clicked on the tiles. Shopping bags dropped to the floor. Then silence. "Evelyn!" Chloe's voice was sharp. "Who is that?" Evelyn came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands. "Chloe, please listen." "Is that a beggar? In my house?" Andrew sat still, head down. "Chloe, calm down. He's not—" "Don't tell me to calm down," Chloe shouted. "You brought a street man into our apartment?" "He needed help. He's blind. People were hurting him in the market." "So you made our house a charity home," she snapped. "Are you okay, Evelyn?" "It's just for one night," Evelyn said softly. "He hasn't eaten. He has no home. I couldn't leave him like that." Chloe folded her arms. "You think this makes you a saint? You think helping some random dirty man makes you better than the rest of us?" "Stop it, Chloe," Evelyn said, her voice shaking. "Please, he's human." "I don't care. You want to help him. Take him to your own apartment, not this one." "I don't have my own place. This is my home too," Evelyn replied. Chloe scoffed. "You know what? I'm calling Mum. She needs to hear this madness." "Please," Evelyn begged. "Just let him stay for one night. He'll leave tomorrow." Chloe stared at Andrew, who hadn't moved or spoken. "One night," she said coldly. "And he better not touch anything. If anything goes missing, you'll both leave." Evelyn nodded slowly. "Thank you." Chloe stormed off to her room, slamming the door behind her. Evelyn turned to Andrew. "I'm sorry you had to hear that." He gave a small smile. "It's okay. I've heard worse. Thank you for standing up for me." She nodded, placed the warm plate of food in his hand, and sat beside him. But even as they sat in silence, Evelyn could feel it. The house had changed. The next morning, the air in the apartment was thick. Evelyn made tea for Andrew. helped him sit on the balcony for some fresh air, and then rushed to get ready for work. "I'll be back early," she told him. "Just rest. Call me if you need anything." Andrew nodded. "Thank you, Evelyn. I'll be fine." The moment Evelyn closed the door, Chloe stepped out of her room. Her eyes landed on Andrew sitting quietly in the corner. "Still here?" she scoffed. "Didn't you say one night?" Andrew sat up. "Good morning." She crossed her arms. "Don't talk to me and don't touch anything. You're just a parasite in this house." Andrew lowered his head. "I'm sorry, I'll leave soon." Chloe rolled her eyes and walked into the kitchen. Over the next few days, her words got sharper. Every time she passed Andrew, she threw a comment. "You know, you're very comfortable for someone who doesn't pay rent. I wonder how you're even blind. Maybe it's karma. Must be nice to be a charity case." Andrew said nothing. He just sat quietly, hands folded, lips moving in prayer. One evening, while Chloe was walking past, Andrew accidentally stepped back and brushed her foot. She looked down at her shoes, white heels with gold detail. "Oh my God!" she shouted. "You just stepped on my shoes!" "I'm sorry," Andrew said quickly. "I didn't mean—" "These shoes cost more than your whole life," she screamed. Andrew backed away. "I'm really sorry." "No, sorry isn't enough. You'll pay for it." "I don't have anything," he said quietly. Chloe moved so fast, even Andrew flinched. She slapped him across the face, hard. "You blind fool!" she yelled. Andrew stumbled and hit the corner of the table. Evelyn rushed in from her room, hearing the noise. "What happened?" "He ruined my shoes!" Chloe shouted. Evelyn ran to Andrew, helping him sit up. Blood was on his forehead. "You hit him," she said, shocked. "Chloe, what's wrong with you?" "Ask your poor friend to pay for what he damaged," Chloe snapped. "Or you pay!" Evelyn ignored her and rushed to the cabinet for a first aid kit. "Let me see," she whispered to Andrew. "I'm okay," he said softly. "You're bleeding," she said. "That's not okay." "I didn't mean to cause trouble," he murmured. "I'll leave tonight. I don't want to ruin the peace." "No," Evelyn said firmly. "You're not going anywhere. But I've caused too much pain." "You've caused nothing," she said, cleaning the cut. "She's the problem, not you." Chloe stood at the door, arms crossed. "If he's staying, then I want my money." "Take it from my next paycheck," Evelyn replied, not looking up. Chloe scoffed and walked away. Andrew sat quietly, hands trembling. Evelyn looked at him and said, "You're not going back to the street, Andrew. Not on my watch." And with that, the war inside that little apartment began. That night, the apartment was quiet. The city outside had gone to sleep, leaving only the soft hum of passing cars in the distance. Evelyn sat on the small rug in the living room, her legs folded under her. Andrew sat on the couch beside her, holding a warm mug of tea. A small lamp glowed in the corner, casting a soft light over the room. Chloe was in her room, and the door had shut tight since the argument. The silence outside her door was a relief. Evelyn looked up at Andrew. His head was slightly bowed, his fingers wrapped carefully around the mug. "Does your head still hurt?" she asked. "No," he said gently. "The pain left after your touch." She smiled a little. "You're very poetic for someone who's been through so much." He chuckled softly. "Pain teaches you how to speak with your heart." Evelyn was quiet for a moment, then said, "Can I ask? Where's your family? Anyone we can call?" Andrew shook his head. "There's no one to call. I lost my parents when I was 12. Car accident. I was the only one who survived." She looked at him with soft eyes. "I was passed from one distant relative to another," he continued. "Eventually I ended up on the streets. That's where I grew up. That's where I learned how to survive. It wasn't easy, but I always believed God was with me." Evelyn's heart tightened. "You still believe?" "Always," he said. "Even when I lost my sight, I told myself, maybe God just wants me to see differently." She paused, then asked gently, "How? How did you lose your sight?" He took a slow breath. "A few years ago, I was working at a small shop helping load supplies. One evening I got hit by a careless driver. Badly. I woke up in the hospital days later, blind." Evelyn's eyes widened, her hand resting on her chest. "Since then," he continued, "everyone disappeared. Friends, neighbors, people I helped before. No one wanted me anymore. I became something people avoided, a burden, a castaway." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm so sorry." He gave a small smile. "It's okay, it brought me here. It brought me... you." Evelyn didn't speak for a moment, Her voice was quiet when she did. "My father died when I was 10, she said. "Heart attack. He went to bed and never woke up." Andrew turned his face slightly toward her voice. "It crushed my mother," she continued. "She raised me and Chloe alone. I was the big sister, but Chloe always acted older. She liked attention, gifts, new things. I was just the quiet one." Andrew smiled. "The strong one." She nodded slowly. "We didn't have much, but I always believed things would get better. I studied hard, got into nursing school. When I got the job in the city, I moved here and brought Chloe with me. She wanted to chase her fashion dreams." He said nothing, but his silence felt full of listening. "Sometimes I feel like she resents me," Evelyn said. "Like I'm holding her back. She doesn't know what she has." Andrew replied softly. They sat in silence again. The air between them was warm, heavy with truth. Evelyn looked up at him. His eyes, though they couldn't see, seemed so full of life, of peace, of strength. "You're different," she whispered. "You're kind. You're strong in a way most people don't understand." Andrew tilted his head. "I'm just grateful for every breath." Evelyn stared at him for a long time. Her heart was beating slower, deeper. Something had started in her chest, soft and strange and strong. She didn't say it. Not yet. But in that quiet night, sitting on the rug while the city slept, Evelyn knew she was falling in love. The days passed slowly, but sweetly. Andrew stayed mostly in the living room, sitting by the window, listening to birds or humming soft hymns. He never asked for much. He never complained. He always smiled when Evelyn came home. She noticed the small things, how he folded his blanket neatly, how he always said thank you, even for a glass of water, how he prayed silently before every meal. His humility wrapped around her like a warm scarf. At night, when the apartment was quiet, they would talk. Not long conversations, just little pieces of life. But every word felt deep, honest, pure, and Evelyn felt it. She was falling. One evening she stood by the kitchen doorway watching him. He was humming softly, head tilted back, the last sunlight brushing his face. Something about the way he sat there, peaceful, calm, gentle, made her chest ache. She turned away quickly, heart pounding. What am I doing? Later that night, they sat in the same corner of the living room, the lamp glowing faintly. Andrew turned slightly toward her. "You've been quiet today." Evelyn nodded, her voice low. "I've been thinking." "About what?" She hesitated, then said, "About how unfair life is." Andrew chuckled lightly. "It's true, but it still has its soft corners." Evelyn looked at him. "Why are you like this?" "Like what?" "So calm, so peaceful, after everything." He smiled. "Because I've learned that peace isn't around you. It's inside you." Evelyn felt her eyes sting. She looked away. "You're something else." Silence. Then Andrew said softly, "Evelyn, I don't want you to get too close." She turned sharply. "What do you mean?" "I mean..." He took a deep breath. "You deserve someone better. Someone who can take care of you. Someone who can walk beside you, not behind you. Not someone like me." She stared at him. "I can't give you much," he said. "I can't even see your face. How can I give you a future?" Evelyn moved closer. Her voice shook. "I don't need someone to give me the world." "Then what do you need?" he asked. "I need someone with a good heart. Someone who fears God. Someone who understands pain and still chooses kindness." She paused. "I see your soul, Andrew. Your heart. That's what matters." He didn't speak. His lips parted, but no words came. He turned his face away gently. "How can someone like you even exist?" Tears filled his blind eyes. "I don't understand." "You don't have to," she said, touching his hand. "Just believe me." Andrew sat frozen. 1,000 thoughts ran through his mind. He tried to pull away, but he didn't. He stayed still, moved, touched, and deeply, deeply afraid, because his heart, long buried under pain and dust, had started beating again. The air in the apartment had changed. It wasn't just the tension. It was something deeper. Chloe could feel it, like a quiet whisper behind the walls. One afternoon she came out of her room and saw Evelyn sitting on the couch beside Andrew. They were laughing softly about something. Evelyn's eyes sparkled in a way Chloe hadn't seen in years. She paused, watching them from the hallway. Her eyes narrowed. Later that evening, Evelyn was in the kitchen humming while stirring soup. Chloe leaned against the doorway, arms folded. "You've been smiling a lot lately." Chloe said. Evelyn glanced back. Is that a crime? Chloe raised an eyebrow. Just curious. Seems like our guest is making himself very comfortable. Evelyn said nothing. You're falling for him, aren't you? Chloe's voice was sharp now. A blind beggar? That's your type? Evelyn's hands paused over the pot. I see the way you look at him, Chloe continued, and I get it. You've always liked the broken ones, but this is too much. Evelyn turned to her calmly. Be careful what you say, Chloe scoffed. Come on, Evelyn. Use your head. He's blind, poor, and he just so happened to end up in your house? He's playing you. He's not. Oh, really? Chloe smirked. He's manipulating you, getting into your emotions so you'll take care of him, feed him, house him, and maybe love him too, right? He probably laughs about it when you leave for work. Evelyn's jaw clenched. Enough. I'm just trying to protect you, Chloe said, her voice rising. You're all he has to leech off. When you lose everything, don't say I didn't warn you. Evelyn stepped closer, her voice firm now. He has more character than you'll ever understand. Chloe rolled her eyes. Of course. Let me guess. He's special, spiritual. A gift from God? He's kind, Evelyn said. He's loving. He's peaceful. He is an amazing person. He listens. He has a good heart. And right now, I cannot say the same for you. Chloe frowned. And for the record, Evelyn added, you are my younger sister. You have no right to interfere in my life, or lecture me, not with this. Chloe's face changed, shocked, angry, quiet. I'm not stupid, Evelyn said, her voice softer now but steady. I know what I'm doing. Then she walked past her and returned to the living room, sitting beside Andrew, who had been silent the whole time, head bowed. Evelyn reached for his hand. Chloe stood in the hallway, fists clenched. She didn't like this feeling. She was losing control. Chloe sat on her bed, phone pressed tightly to her ear. Her voice was low but sharp. Mum, you need to come. Evelyn's losing her mind. She paused, listening. Yes, a blind beggar. He's living here. She brought him in from the streets, and now she acts like he's family. Another pause. I'm serious. You have to see it for yourself. 3 days later, their mother, Madame Ruth, arrived. She stood at the apartment door in her long brown gown, head tie perfectly tied, her handbag swinging on one arm. Her eyes were already burning with questions. Evelyn opened the door. Mum? Where is he? Madame Ruth snapped. Evelyn stepped aside. Andrew was sitting quietly on the couch, head bowed, hands folded in his lap. Madame Ruth gasped. Jesus! Evelyn, who is that? Mum, please. Don't mum me, she barked. Is that the man you brought into this house? This thing? Andrew slowly stood. Good afternoon, Ma. Don't greet me. Don't speak to me, she shouted. Mum, please lower your voice, Evelyn said, trying to calm her. You brought shame to this family, Madame Ruth cried. I raised you for this? A poor beggar with no eyes. You're ruining our name. People will laugh at us. He's not what you think, Mum, Evelyn pleaded. He's kind. He's good. He needed help. There are orphanages and shelters for people like him, Madame Ruth shouted. This is not your burden. I made a choice, Evelyn said, her voice breaking. I chose to care for him. You call this love? Her mother scoffed. He has bewitched you. It must be witchcraft. I'll call the church elders. No, Mum, please. I will not allow my daughter to throw her life away over a cursed man from the streets. Andrew said softly. Ma, I don't want to cause trouble. I'll leave. No, Evelyn cried. This is his home too. Madame Ruth stepped forward and grabbed Andrew's arm. Get out of this house, now. Mum, stop it, Evelyn begged, tears in her eyes. I said out. Andrew didn't fight. He slowly picked up his cane and walked toward the door. Evelyn stood frozen, heart breaking, unable to stop it. As the door closed behind him, Madame Ruth turned to her daughter. The next time I visit, she said coldly, I don't want to see him in this house. If I do, you are no longer my child. She stormed into Chloe's room, slammed the door and locked it. The next morning she packed her bag, adjusted her head tie and walked out without a word to Evelyn. I have a church program to attend in the village, she said coldly to Chloe on her way out. Stay sharp. Evelyn stood by the window, eyes wet, heart heavy. Andrew was gone, but her love for him had not moved an inch. The evening sun was low when Evelyn walked out of the small grocery store near their street. Her eyes scanned the roadside. heart heavy since her mother's outburst. She hadn't heard from Andrew all day. He didn't have a phone. He didn't even take a jacket. Then she saw him. He was sitting by the corner of a closed shop, back against the wall, Kane resting beside him. His head was down, legs pulled close like a child hiding from the world. Evelyn rushed to him. "Andrew," she whispered. He looked up slowly, recognizing her voice. "Evelyn." Her throat tightened. His shirt was stained with dirt. His hands were shaking. "I didn't know where to go," he said softly. "I just sat here." She knelt in front of him. "You're coming home, right now. But your mom, she left. What about, please just come home with me." She helped him up, wrapped her scarf around his shoulders, and led him back gently, step by step. When they entered the apartment, Chloe was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up and saw them. Her expression darkened. "Unbelievable. Chloe, please." "No. So now you're dragging him back in? After what Mum said? Evelyn, no one can talk sense into you anymore." "I don't need you to talk sense into me," Evelyn snapped. "I need you to mind your own life." Andrew stood quietly, holding onto the armrest. "I'll go to my room," he said softly. "I don't want any trouble." Chloe scoffed, but said nothing. The next morning, Evelyn left early for work, leaving instructions for Andrew to rest and avoid moving around too much. But by mid-morning, Chloe was stomping around the living room, throwing things, mumbling under her breath. Andrew, trying to find his way to the kitchen, gently tapped his cane against the wall. He didn't see Chloe coming from the opposite side, carrying a glass of juice. They bumped slightly. The drink spilled on her blouse. She froze. Andrew immediately stepped back. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean—" "You blind fool!" Chloe screamed. "You ruined my blouse. I didn't see you. I'm so sorry." "You never see anything," she shouted. And then, before he could move, she grabbed a vase from the table and hurled it. It struck him on the side of the head. He crumbled instantly. Blood trickled down the side of his face. He collapsed to the floor without a sound. Chloe stood frozen. The room was quiet, the only sound her heavy breathing. Then the door burst open. Evelyn rushed in. She had forgotten her phone at home and had returned quickly to get it. What she saw made her scream. "Andrew!" She dropped to the floor, lifting his head gently, panic all over her face. "Oh my God, what happened? He spilled something on me. I didn't know it would hit him," Chloe stammered, her voice breaking. "You threw something at a blind man," Evelyn shouted. "Are you insane?" Chloe stepped back, shaking. "What have I done?" Evelyn grabbed a towel from the table, pressed it against the bleeding wound, and pulled her phone from her pocket with trembling hands. "Get out of my way!" she yelled. She carried Andrew, with Chloe frozen in place, too shocked to move. At the small hospital where Evelyn worked, nurses rushed to help as she burst through the door, blood on her hands. "Head injury," she cried. "He's blind! He didn't see it coming!" Andrew was taken inside. Evelyn stood outside the room, her hands shaking. Chloe's words, her mother's anger, Andrew's pain, all of it boiled inside her. She leaned against the wall and cried quietly. And somewhere in her sister's room, Chloe sat on the edge of her bed, whispering to herself, "What have I done?" The white lights of the hospital buzzed softly overhead. Andrew lay still on the hospital bed, a light bandage wrapped around his head. His face looked calm, but Evelyn could see the tiredness in his body, the pain he tried so hard to hide. "You should rest," she whispered, brushing his arm gently. He nodded. "Thank you for everything. I'll go get you something to eat," she said, standing slowly. "Soup, maybe? You need something warm." He smiled faintly. "Anything you choose will be perfect." She kissed his hand and stepped out of the room. A few minutes later, Chloe walked slowly down the hospital hallway. In her hand, she held a small bag of apples she had picked up from the stall across the street. She wasn't sure why she came. Maybe guilt, maybe curiosity. As she reached Andrew's hospital room, she paused. The door was slightly open. She heard voices. "Daniel, you came?" Andrew's voice said, soft and calm. Chloe froze. "I had to, sir," another voice replied. "You called. I dropped everything. Are you all right?" "I'm healing," Andrew replied. "But I didn't want to leave things hanging. Everyone is asking, Mr. Gold. The board, the media. They want to know when you'll resurface." "Mr. Gold," Chloe's breath caught in her throat. She stepped back slowly, hiding behind the wall. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. "Andrew. Is Andrew Gold?" The name ran through her mind like fire.
Andrew Gold, the billionaire, the mysterious tech genius who had vanished from public life, the one no one had seen in almost a year. And here he was, lying in a hospital bed, dressed like a nobody, blind, soft-spoken, humble.
Chloe's hand gripped the apple bag tightly. She waited quietly, listening. "I should leave now before anyone sees me, sir," Daniel said. "Yes, and thank you, Daniel," Andrew replied. Chloe slipped away quickly before Daniel stepped out. She didn't stop walking until she reached the main road. Her face was blank, but her mind was spinning. So this is who he really is. She smiled slowly. She didn't love him. No, she never could. A blind man wasn't her dream, but a billionaire, that she could learn to live with. Her plan formed quickly. She would charm him, win him over. Be kind, be sweet, be everything he needed. Just long enough to get close. She hailed a bike and rode back home, her lips curled in a small, secret smile. The game had just begun. 2 days later, Andrew was discharged from the hospital. The cut on his head had healed enough, and the swelling had gone down. The doctor gave Evelyn instructions for care, and she promised to watch him closely. Evelyn held Andrew's arm gently as they walked up the stairs to the apartment. "I'm sorry for all this trouble," Andrew said. "You're not trouble," she replied. "You're home." When they stepped inside, the smell of fresh food filled the air. Boiled rice, stew, and fried plantain. Evelyn blinked. "Chloe?" From the kitchen, Chloe popped her head out with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Welcome back," she said brightly. Andrew tilted his head. "Is that Chloe?" Chloe laughed lightly. "Who else would be cooking rice in my kitchen?" Evelyn helped Andrew to the couch, still watching her sister with cautious eyes. "I thought I'd make something nice," Chloe said, wiping her hands on a towel. "As a peace offering." "You didn't have to," Evelyn said slowly. "I wanted to," Chloe replied. "I've been thinking. I was wrong. I treated Andrew badly. I let my anger and pride get in the way, and I'm sorry." Andrew sat still, listening closely. "Please forgive me," Chloe said, walking over to him. "I didn't know better." Andrew's voice was quiet. "I forgive you." Evelyn smiled faintly. Her heart lightened. Maybe she really means it this time. The next few days were strange. Chloe cooked. She greeted Andrew with smiles. She even helped him find things around the house. "Your spoon's right by your left hand," she'd say gently. "Careful, there's a step just ahead." Evelyn was surprised but thankful. The apartment felt calmer, lighter. "She's trying," Evelyn told Andrew one night. Andrew nodded but said nothing. He had noticed the change too, but he wasn't convinced. Chloe's voice was soft, but her footsteps still had a rhythm of calculation. Her laughter was sweet, but her pauses were too long. Her words were kind, but her eyes, they lingered too long when Evelyn wasn't looking. Andrew felt it deep in his chest. Something wasn't right, but he kept quiet. He didn't want to ruin Evelyn's peace. So he smiled politely, accepted the meals, and waited. Because sometimes silence speaks louder than truth, and Andrew was listening. The morning came heavy with rain. Grey clouds hung low and soft thunder rolled in the distance. Evelyn walked home slower than usual, her hands deep in her coat pockets, eyes on the wet pavement. Her steps were tired, not from work, but from what had happened just 2 hours earlier. She had lost her job. The hospital had announced new budget cuts. Departments were trimmed, shifts reduced, and her name had been one of the first called. "We're sorry, Evelyn. This has nothing to do with performance," the supervisor had said. "You're one of the best, but there's no room left." She nodded, forced a smile, and walked out with her bag clutched to her chest. She didn't go home right away. She sat on a bench under a bus stop shelter for over an hour, watching the rain fall, heart breaking quietly. She'd been saving every little extra for Andrew's surgery, for the day he could see again, and now that dream felt like it had drowned in the rain too. When she reached the apartment, her clothes damp and her face pale, Chloe barely looked up from the mirror where she was applying lipstick. "Back already?" she asked casually. Evelyn nodded without a word and walked straight into her room. She shut the door, sat on the bed, and finally let the tears fall. She cried into her hands, silent, deep, heavy sobs. Outside, Andrew sat on the couch, sensing something wasn't right. He tilted his head toward her door. Later that evening, when the house was quiet and Chloe had gone out, Evelyn stepped into the living room to find Andrew waiting. "Evelyn?" he asked gently. "Yes?" "I heard your heart before I heard your steps." She blinked. "What do you mean?" "You've been crying." She swallowed, looked away. "I'm fine." "No," he said. "You're not. Sit with me." She sat slowly. "I lost my job," she whispered. They said they had no choice. Andrew reached for her hand and held it gently. I was saving for your surgery, she added, her voice cracking. I wanted you to see again. I wanted to give you that. You've already given me more than sight, he said quietly. She looked at him, her eyes wet. You've given me peace, a place to belong. Kindness I didn't know still existed, but I wanted to do more. You've done enough, he said. More than enough. As they sat there in the quiet, Andrew's heart ached. He wanted to tell her the truth, that he didn't need the surgery, that he could afford 100 of them, that he was never really poor, but he stayed silent. Not yet. Meanwhile, Chloe returned later that night with soft footsteps and a sweeter voice. She walked over to Andrew, placed a plate of fresh fruit in his lap, and brushed her fingers along his arm. You must be tired, she said gently. I brought you something nice. Thank you, Andrew said softly, confused. She sat beside him, closer than usual. You know, she whispered. You have the kindest smile I've ever seen. Andrew stiffened slightly. I'm grateful. Chloe smiled to herself, tilting her head. I think we're finally getting to know each other better. Andrew gave a small nod, unsure how to respond. Polite, careful. But inside he was watching every word, every tone, because something wasn't adding up, and Andrew Gold didn't miss details. That evening the rain had stopped. The sky was still grey, and the room was quiet. A small lamp glowed in the corner. Andrew sat on the couch holding a cup of tea Evelyn had made. His hands were shaking a little. Evelyn sat beside him. She looked tired, sad. He turned toward her slowly. Evelyn, he said quietly, I need to tell you something. Something important. She looked at him. Her heart beat faster. I haven't been honest with you, he said. Not about everything. She blinked. What do you mean? My name is Andrew Gold, he said. She frowned. Gold? Yes, he nodded. I'm that Andrew Gold. The one on the news. The one who disappeared. Evelyn's mouth fell open. She stared at him, shocked. I didn't lie about everything, he said quickly. I did lose my sight. I was in an accident. I was alone. All of that is true. He looked down at his hands. But I wasn't poor, he said. I just let you think I was. Evelyn didn't speak. Her chest felt heavy. I have money. A lot of it. I have a company. A big one. People knew my name. But after I went blind, everything changed. He took a shaky breath. People stopped seeing me. They only saw my money. Or they pitied me. Like I was weak. Like I didn't matter anymore. He shook his head slowly. I got tired. Tired of fake smiles, tired of being used. So one day I left. I walked away from everything. Evelyn still didn't speak. Her eyes were full. I was supposed to get surgery, he said softly. I had the money, but I needed something more. I needed to know if someone could love me for who I am, not what I have. His voice cracked a little. Then I met you. Evelyn looked away, tears running down her cheek. You helped me when I had nothing to offer. You stood up for me. You brought me into your home, even when you didn't know me. You saw me, even when I couldn't see myself. He reached for her hand, gently, carefully. I didn't mean to hide the truth for this long, he said. But I was afraid. Afraid you'd stop seeing me if you knew. Afraid you'd leave me all alone like everyone else. His voice dropped to a whisper. I'm sorry, Evelyn. Truly. If you don't want me here anymore, I'll understand. I'll go. Silence. For a long time, Evelyn didn't say anything. Her heart felt full, hurt, confused, but also touched. Finally, she spoke. You should have told me. I know. You should have trusted me. I wanted to. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. But I understand, she said quietly. You were hurt. You were scared. I get that. Andrew looked toward her. His eyes, though blind, were full of pain. I didn't want to lose you, he said. Evelyn gave a small, sad smile. You're not going to lose me, she said. His breath caught. I don't love you because you're rich, she said. I love you because of your heart, because you're kind, because you made me feel seen too. Andrew's lips trembled. You really mean that? She nodded. It'll take time, but I forgive you. Andrew leaned forward, resting his forehead in his hands. Relief washed over him like a wave. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you. Evelyn touched his shoulder softly. No more secrets, she said. Never again, he promised. They sat together in the soft light, hands touching, hearts full. The rain was gone, but something beautiful had just begun. The next morning the apartment was quiet. too quiet. Evelyn had gone to the pharmacy to pick up medicine for Andrew's healing head wound. Andrew was resting on the couch, soft music playing from Evelyn's small speaker. The light from the window warmed the room. In the kitchen, Chloe stood by the counter, staring at a cup of tea. Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened a small packet hidden inside her makeup bag. "This will teach him not to ignore me," she whispered. She poured the powder into the tea. It dissolved fast, like it was never there, but Chloe's heart was racing. She picked up the cup, her face calm now, fake sweet, carefully masked. Andrew was still resting, eyes closed, peaceful. Chloe walked over slowly. "Andrew," she said gently, "I brought you some tea. It will help you sleep better." He opened his eyes. "Oh, thank you." She sat beside him, too close. Her hand brushed his shoulder. "You've been so quiet lately." He nodded, not sure what to say. Chloe leaned closer. "I want to apologize again, for everything. I was wrong." Andrew took the cup and held it for a moment. Chloe's eyes followed him. Just then, the front door burst open. Evelyn walked in, her keys dropping from her hand. She stopped. She saw the scene. Chloe leaning close, Andrew holding the cup. She saw Chloe's expression, and then she smelled something odd. "Wait," Evelyn said, her voice sharp. Andrew paused, cup still near his lips. "Put that down," Evelyn said, rushing forward. Andrew froze. He could hear the urgency in her voice. Evelyn grabbed the cup and smelled it. Her face changed. Fear. Anger. "What is this?" she asked, turning to Chloe. Chloe stood slowly. Her face had gone blank. "I asked you a question," Evelyn said, her voice rising. "What did you put in this?" Chloe crossed her arms, a fake smile fading. "What were you trying to do?" Evelyn said. "Drug him." Chloe laughed, cold, empty. "You really think I'd let you win that easily?" Evelyn's eyes filled with fire. "You were going to lie. Set him up. Make him look like he hurt you." Chloe smirked. "It was the only way to make him mine. I couldn't let you have a billionaire all to yourself." Andrew sat up slowly, his face tight with shock and pain. "You've known this whole time?" he asked softly. Chloe turned to him, her voice sharp. "Yes. I knew who you were the moment I overheard your talk in the hospital. Andrew Gold, the missing billionaire. You think I was going to just let Evelyn have you?" Evelyn's mouth dropped open. "You tried to drug him," she said. "All this kindness. It was just a show." Chloe shrugged. People fall for less. Andrew stood now, still weak but steady. "You don't love me, Chloe," he said, his voice strong. "You love the name, the money, the image." He took a breath. "When you thought I was nothing, you called me trash, a beggar, a burden." Chloe looked away. "But Evelyn," he turned toward her. "Evelyn saw me, the real me, even when I was broken, blind, empty-handed." His voice cracked. "She loved me when no one else did." Evelyn's eyes shone with quiet tears. Andrew turned back to Chloe. "So please," he said, "stop pretending. I don't need your guilt. I don't want your games. And I will never, ever be yours." Chloe's face turned red with anger. "You think she's better than me?" "She already is," he replied calmly. Then Evelyn stepped forward. Her voice was cold, still, sharp like ice. "You cannot undo who you were," she said, "when you thought he was nothing." Chloe's mouth opened, but no words came. Her lies, her tricks, her plan, all broken in one night. "You should leave," Evelyn said. Chloe scoffed. "This isn't over." She grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door. But even as she left, Evelyn knew it. She wasn't done. Not yet. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft gold and purple. Evelyn stood at her window, lost in thought, when her phone buzzed. "Andrew, will you go on a date with me? Just us, somewhere special." She smiled softly, her heart warming. "Evelyn, yes." An hour later, a black car pulled up outside. The driver opened the door gently. Evelyn stepped in, confused but curious. She had never seen this car before. It smelled like leather and quiet money. The car drove to a quiet part of the city, a small private garden restaurant filled with fairy lights and music playing low in the background. A table was already set, white cloth, candles, flowers, and there he was. Andrew, in a dark blue suit, stood tall and handsome in his tailored suit. He still used his cane, but tonight he looked like a man who had chosen peace, not one begging for it. Evelyn's breath caught. "You look," she started. He smiled. "Like me?" She laughed gently. "Yes, only better." He pulled out her chair and they sat. "This place is beautiful," she said, looking around. I wanted you to see a part of my world, he said. The world I left behind. She tilted her head. Why did you really leave it? He took a deep breath. I've been heartbroken, Evelyn. More than once. His voice was soft, but every word felt heavy. There were women who said they loved me, but they loved my money, my name, my power. Not me, not the quiet version of me. He paused. Once I gave someone everything. I was planning to propose. Then I found out she had another man, and a secret plan to drain my company. Evelyn covered her mouth. That's awful. He nodded. That was the first time I disappeared. Daniel, my assistant. She nodded, although he couldn't see her. Yes, he helped me create another life. A quiet one. I told him I needed to meet someone who didn't know my name. Someone who could see my soul first. He reached for her hand. Then I went blind, he said softly. And I thought, maybe that's the real test. Maybe I needed to see with my heart too. Tears filled Evelyn's eyes. Andrew. He squeezed her hand. I'm ready to do the surgery now, he said. I want to see you. I want to see this life. With you. But only if you'll be there with me. She nodded slowly, her smile trembling. I'm not going anywhere, she said. I'm standing with you, always. At another table in the corner of the garden, a small crowd clapped. Andrew had just knelt in front of Evelyn, holding a small ring. I may have tested you, he said, voice shaking. But your love tested me too, and it won. Will you marry me? Evelyn burst into tears and nodded. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Everyone cheered. Andrew chuckled softly. Looks like love is in the air. Yes, Evelyn whispered. Real love. The next day, plans began for Andrew's eye surgery abroad. Daniel started making calls. Passports were checked. The flight was booked. But across town, someone was not smiling. Chloe sat in the living room staring at her phone. Her face was tight, angry, cold. She dialed a number. It rang. Mum, she said sweetly, I have something to tell you. Madame Ruth's voice crackled through the speaker. Yes, dear. Evelyn is secretly dating and planning to get married, Chloe said. Oh? Her mother asked. To who? Chloe took a long pause. To that street beggar she brought into the house. She brought him back after you left. Silence. What? Her mother shouted. She's doing what? Chloe's voice was calm now, but her eyes were burning. She's throwing her life away, Mum. You better come back quickly. She ended the call and smiled to herself. She didn't mention that the man was Andrew Gold. She wanted her mother to come full of anger, full of shame, full of war, because Chloe might have lost the game. But she wasn't ready to lose the fight. The house was full of silence, a heavy, tense kind of silence. Evelyn sat on the edge of the bed, lacing her shoes. Andrew stood near the door, his cane in hand, ready for their next hospital appointment. The private jet was booked for 3 days from now. The surgery was waiting, but something else was coming first. A storm. Suddenly the door burst open. Madame Ruth had returned. Her long gown swept the floor and her eyes were already on fire. Evelyn, she shouted. Evelyn stood slowly. Mum. Is it true? Her mother barked. You're marrying him, that blind, homeless stranger. Andrew stepped forward, calm, quiet, strong. I am not homeless, Ma, he said gently. And I understand your anger, but please give me a chance. Let me explain everything to you. Madame Ruth pointed at him like he was a disease. Shut up, don't speak to me. You think I care what you have to say? You've put a spell on my daughter. You are a curse. Mum, Evelyn shouted, stop! No, Madame Ruth snapped. I will not stand and watch my first daughter ruin her life for a poor beggar like this. This is not love, it's madness. Andrew took a deep breath. I am not asking for anything, he said softly. I only want her happiness. If that means walking away, I will. But please know your daughter is everything I prayed for. She's not yours to take, Madame Ruth screamed. And I am not yours to control, Evelyn said, her voice shaking. Her mother turned sharply. What did you say? Evelyn stepped forward, her chin raised but her eyes full of pain. I've followed your rules all my life. I've bent, I've broken, I've kept quiet. But not this time. I love him. And I know he loves me. He didn't come to take from me. He gave me peace, respect, real love. Her mother's face twisted with fury. If you marry him, you are no longer my child. The words cut deep. Evelyn felt them like knives. But then, Andrew reached out his hand. quiet, waiting. Evelyn looked at her mother one last time. "I love you, Mum," she whispered. "But I'm choosing love, and I won't look back." She took Andrew's hand. Together they walked out the door. The car that waited outside was sleek and black. When it pulled up to a tall golden gate, Evelyn blinked. The guards opened it without a word. The road curved up to a massive white mansion surrounded by gardens and fountains. Evelyn stared, speechless. Andrew smiled gently. "Welcome home." She turned to him, stunned. "You live here?" "I do," he said. "And now it's yours too." Tears filled her eyes. Not because of the money, not because of the house, but because of how he still looked at her, like she was the most beautiful thing in the world. 3 days later, a private jet waited on the runway. Evelyn helped Andrew climb the steps, her fingers never letting go of his. Inside, the cabin was quiet and warm. She looked out the window as the city got smaller behind them. Andrew reached for her hand. "Next time I open my eyes," he whispered, "I hope you're the first thing I see." She smiled. "I will be," she said. "Always." And the plane lifted into the clouds, carrying their love toward a new beginning. The hospital room was quiet. Machines beeped softly. The curtains let in gentle sunlight. Evelyn sat beside the bed, her hands folded on her lap, her eyes tired but full of hope. Andrew lay still. Bandages were wrapped around his head. The surgery had gone well. The doctors were confident. Now came the real moment. The moment of truth. The nurse walked in and smiled at Evelyn. "It's time." Evelyn stood, her heart pounding. Slowly, the doctor unwrapped the bandages from Andrew's eyes. "Try opening them gently," the doctor said. Andrew blinked. Once, twice. Light. Blur. And then clarity. The first thing he saw was a woman. Her eyes were full of tears. Her smile shook as her hands covered her mouth. Her hair was messy from the sleepless night, and her clothes were simple. But to him, she was shining. "Evelyn?" he whispered. She nodded, crying. "You're even more beautiful than I imagined." She laughed through her tears and hugged him, holding his face like it was the most precious thing in the world. "And you," she said softly. "You're finally seeing the life that waited for you." They cried together. No more hiding, no more blindness. Only truth, only love. Weeks passed. The wedding came fast. It was grand, but not because of the flowers or the clothes or the gold-decorated hall. It was grand because it was real. Andrew stood at the altar in a black suit, his eyes now healed, his face glowing. Daniel stood beside him, proud and teary, clapping like a brother. Evelyn walked down the aisle in a gown that shimmered like the stars. But it wasn't just her beauty that stunned the room. It was the peace on her face, the joy in her steps, the love in her eyes. When she reached him, Andrew whispered, "Now I know why God made eyes." They laughed quietly as the vows began. "I loved you when I couldn't see you," Andrew said. "Now that I can, I'll never look away." Evelyn's hands shook slightly. "You saw me in ways no one else ever did, even when the world laughed, even when my heart was afraid." They exchanged rings. They kissed. The room clapped. Daniel wiped his face with his sleeve. "Finally," he said with a grin. But in the back row, someone else had tears in her eyes too. Madame Ruth. Her shoulders were lower now, her voice softer when the ceremony ended, and she stepped toward the couple. Andrew turned to her, calmly. "Mama," Evelyn said, unsure what would come next. Madame Ruth looked down, ashamed. Then she looked at Andrew. "I came here today not to stop this, but to say I was wrong." Everyone went quiet. "I judged you for being blind, for being poor. I saw you as less than human because you didn't look like the man I dreamed for my daughter." Her voice cracked. "But I forgot. That kindness is not seen in clothes. That love isn't in money. And that disability is not weakness. I was shallow. I was proud." She looked at Evelyn. "You chose better than I ever could. I'm sorry, truly." Evelyn hugged her tightly. Andrew stepped forward and took Madame Ruth's hand. "I forgive you," he said. She nodded, tears falling. "Thank you." The music rose again. The celebration filled the room. There were no more masks, no more lies, only truth, only peace, and a love that had passed every test. Andrew held Evelyn close as they danced and whispered, "Now we begin the forever I always dreamed of." Chloe sat alone on her bed, legs crossed, eyes glued to her phone screen. The room was quiet, filled only with the flicker of blue light from the device. The wedding video played again. Evelyn's smile, Andrew's tear-filled vows. The applause, the kiss, it repeated, and again, and again. Chloe didn't blink. Her fingers trembled slightly as she scrolled through comments. Such a beautiful couple. A queen and her king. True love still exists. She locked the screen. The silence hit harder. She had lost. Not just a game, not just a billionaire, but a piece of herself. And she knew it. Her pride, her schemes, her greed, they left her with nothing but a cold room and a glowing screen filled with joy that wasn't hers. 2 months later, sunlight poured through the windows of a beautiful white building. The sign outside read, Evelyn Hope Clinic. Evelyn stood frozen in front of it, her hand covering her mouth. Andrew stood beside her, holding her hand with the softest smile. "This is for me?" she whispered. Andrew nodded. "You gave your heart to care for people when you had nothing," he said. "Now they'll have everything they need. Because of you." Tears rolled down her cheeks. Inside, nurses in crisp uniforms greeted her with warm smiles. Students waved. Patients whispered her name like a blessing. She walked through the halls and felt it. Respect, purpose, honor. She had returned to work. She had gone back to school. And now the world saw her the way Andrew always had. That evening, they stood by the balcony of their home, watching the sky fade into orange. A soft breeze passed through the trees. Evelyn turned to him, resting her head on his shoulder. Then she spoke. "I loved him before he could see me." Andrew smiled, his fingers brushing hers. "She saw me," he said quietly, "when the world was blind to me." They stood that way for a long time, saying nothing, just being, because they didn't need more words, just a heartbeat, just a hand, just a kind of love the world rarely understands. And as the sun dipped below the hills and the sky turned to gold, Evelyn whispered the words that had lived in her soul since the day they met. "True love doesn't need eyes. It needs a heart." Andrew kissed her forehead and replied, "True love sees beyond appearances." They smiled at the sky, fingers locked, hearts full, and peace settled in.